I want to thank Lieutenant Governor Patrick, Speaker Bonin, and General Norris for joining with me here today. We're here today because there is an escalating crisis at the border, a crisis that Congress is refusing to fix. So today we are announcing stopgap measures to assist Customs and Border Protection respond to a massive surge on the border. In the past 3 weeks alone, more than 45,000 people have been apprehended in Texas crossing the border illegally. And understand this, they are coming from far more than just the Central American region. They have come from 52 different countries across the entire globe. In fact, if you were to add together all the people entering Texas illegally this year alone, they would add up to one of the large cities in the state of Texas. This surge, left unchecked, increases the risk of potentially dangerous individuals as well as gang members crossing the border, and increases the risk of drugs and illegal contraband being brought into Texas. To manage this crisis and to alleviate the strain on resources at the border, the United States Department of Homeland Security is establishing temporary holding facilities in the Rio Grande Valley and in El Paso. These holding facilities will be for single adults who cross the border illegally while they wait for transfer to ICE for immigration hearings. To assist the U.S. Customs and Border Protection, I am announcing under Title 32 authority that I will deploy 1,000 National Guard troops. The National Guard troops will provide assistance at temporary holding facilities and at ports of entry. Now, this effort is focused on reducing the humanitarian crisis at our border, on increasing border protection and security for our communities, and on expediting trade between the United States and Mexico. Importantly, the federal government will pay 100% of the costs of this short-term mission. Now, these National Guard troops that are being deployed as of today are in addition to the National Guard troops that are already working on the border. And this effort is in addition to the $800 million that the Texas legislature just appropriated to help respond to the challenges of a broken immigration system that includes the payment for 500 Texas Department of Public Safety officers who are working to help Texas deal with the border crisis. All of these actions are necessary because Congress has failed to do its job. They carp about a humanitarian crisis and about reforming an immigration system, all the while refusing to pass laws to fix the problem. And it leaves states like Texas fending for themselves. While we wait for Congress to act, Texas will do all we can to protect our communities and to secure the border. Once again, I want to thank our federal partners for their work with us here in Texas, as well as thank the Lieutenant Governor, the Speaker, and General Norris. And at this time, I will turn it over to Lieutenant Governor Patrick.
Thank you, Governor. So we currently have 1,000 Guard on the border from Texas, another 200 from other states. So with this additional up to 1,000 brings us over 2,000 Guard on the border. Again, to underscore what the taxpayers of Texas have had to pay for over just the last 3 sessions, $800 million in each budget since the governor and I came into office, and this year once again. That's 500 troopers we've added. The cost to the taxpayers in the state of Texas should be borne out by Congress. This is a federal government responsibility, not individual taxpayers of this state or any state. But with the governor's leadership, we are working with the federal government to do what's necessary. And I echo what the governor just said. It is time for Congress to quit talking, to quit arguing, to quit fighting, to quit denying that this is a crisis. We have an unprecedented number of people coming into Texas, numbers that we have never seen before from countries that we have never seen before. And it has to end. It's not sustainable to the people of Texas and the people of America. But beyond the cost, it's the criminals that come in, the gang members who are joining up with current gangs in our state and across this country. It must end. Congress must act, and I thank the President for acting. It's time Congress get behind the President, get behind Texas, and get behind the United States of America on this critical issue. Thank you.
Speaker.
Back in 2014, we're now in 2019. In 2014, I was the chair with Senator Betancourt of a joint House-Senate committee on border security. From that, I was proud to carry House Bill 11, Border Security Bill 2015. We allocated 250 new DPS troopers to help secure the border. In 2017, we allocated again for an additional 250 DPS troopers to help secure the border. That's now 500 troopers that the state of Texas is paying for to be on our border to do what is a federal responsibility. We have sent bills to the federal government to simply highlight the point that they are costing Texas taxpayers dollars by not meeting their constitutional responsibility of securing our border. Today, the governor is taking the action that we 100% support and agree with, which is yet another step for Texans to try and secure the border while the federal government and our Congress doesn't act. We just finished a legislative session here in Texas, and we again allocated $800 million towards border security for our state, a federal responsibility. We did that, as we did on so many other important issues, by working together. It is time Congress work together to avoid these humanitarian crises, to avoid a porous border. At some point, you must do the job you were elected to do. I'm proud that we've done it in Texas, and I'm begging our friends in Washington, D.C. to do the job and better respond to a porous border and the humanitarian crises that exist because of a bad border security plan.
Thank you. We'll take a few questions.
Governor, could you go into details specifically in regards to what these troopers will be doing? We just saw a report yesterday from a review of some of the centers of the conditions that are just, quite frankly, unbelievable in regards to how these children are being lived. What are they going to be doing? Helping clean these up, providing showers, what?
They will be working, they will be doing, the Texas National Guard will be performing two functions. One, they will be assisting at the holding facilities with regard to security for the facilities that involve single adults. Second, they will be working in assisting Border Patrol at ports of entry to facilitate especially commercial traffic coming in, as well as any other traffic that may be coming across the border. So they will be performing basically the functions that Border Patrol performs collaboratively with the Border Patrol. Here's the deal, and that is because of this massive influx of people coming in to the country illegally, the personnel of the Border Patrol is overwhelmed. They need more assistance. Congress is not providing the funding for that assistance, and while we await for Congress to provide the funding, Texas is stepping up and helping out.
And Rudy, if there's an issue, if those facts turn out to be true in that facility with those children, it is directly on Congress. It is not on the men and women of Border Patrol. It is not on the men and women of Texas. It's not on the taxpayers of Texas. It's on Congress. It's their responsibility. It's their responsibility. They're not providing the funds needed that have been asked for time and time again by Border Patrol or ICE or any of the law enforcement agencies. They sit there on their hands and do nothing. It's on them, period.
And Rudy, to that point, think about this. They have fought over different ways to secure our border in Washington. But yet, they don't respond to stories of children not being respectfully taken care of. That is something that they ought to be able to figure out how to solve. And it's time the people elected to represent the men and women of our country come together. If they are bothered by those stories, they can take action. And it's their responsibility to do it.
Every child who's not being taken care of adequately at the border, Congress is an accomplice to any harm they suffer. The only reason why they may be suffering any challenges is because Congress has refused to fund the resources needed to address this challenge. Other questions?
What other countries are you talking about besides?
There's a total of 52 different countries. Don't have the time or ability to list them all. You can get them from the Department of Homeland Security.
Will there be any assistance given to cities like San Antonio or others away from the border where immigrants have been sent on buses and are now coming into these cities?
General?
Absolutely, we can look at what assistance needs to happen with San Antonio. I actually wasn't aware of that.
Well, but here's the bottom line, and that is this is an operation in collaboration with the Border Patrol. And the Border Patrol has needs. I mean, actually, in our discussions with Homeland Security, the focal point is on these new detention facilities in the Rio Grande Valley and in El Paso, where they're dealing with a massive influx of people coming in. And so probably for this particular mission, with these up to 1,000 new National Guard members, they will be in the Rio Grande Valley or in El Paso. Now, separate from that, under the General's command, are other National Guard who are providing assistance to Border Patrol in various regions. If there is a need requested by Border Patrol for assistance in San Antonio, that's an operation that can be considered.
One more question. This is a federal government issue, right? And you all have talked about how we have lent support to the federal government by spending $800 million every legislative session for the last 2 or 3 sessions.
3.
What is
For the last 3.
say that we aren't just enabling Congress for doing this? Like they just keep not acting. So I guess why are we as states having to
Because we have a responsibility
Right.
to the people of Texas. And shame on Congress if they won't do their job. But we owe it to the people that elect us, just as they owe it to them to do their jobs. Just because they won't get their job done doesn't mean we're not going to do our job.
Thanks. Hey, guys, we gotta go. I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
My message to them is Congress is a group of reprobates for not addressing a crisis on our border. And we're not gonna stand idly
Yes.
by and endanger the lives and safety of the state of Texas because Congress is refusing to do its job.